Hey guys, it's Teen Talks by AJ, where we laugh, learn, and grow. Today, we're going to head right into the topic of covenant. What is a covenant? According to Bishop David Oyedepo, a covenant is a deal enacted by God based on well-defined terms, which is sealed with an oath. And what is this oath? And this oath means to be patient, to remain steadfast in faith, to hold fast to the Word of God, to believe in the Word of God, because in a covenant there are two parts, okay? So there's the promise that God has given to you, and there's the condition to obtain that promise. So the oath means that you are playing your part. You are being diligent in obeying God, and you are being patient, you're being steadfast, and you consistently play your part, believing that God will fulfill His promise.
An example of a covenant is in Deuteronomy 20 verse 1. It says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all His commandments, which I command thee this day, and the Lord thy God shall set thee on high above all nations of the earth." For context, God is speaking through Moses to the Israelites.
Yeah.
So when He says, "Set thee high above all nations of the earth," it's not to an individual, it's to the entire nation. So the condition in this covenant is if you hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, meaning listening to what God says, obeying the commandments, and the result of it, the
promise that God has made.
The promise is that He will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth.
Yeah. Another example of a covenant is in Hebrews 6 verse 13 to 15. In verse 15 it says that Abraham was patient. And by the way, how could we talk about covenant without referring to our father of faith, Abraham? Father Abraham. Abraham was such a steadfast believer of God. He was such a faithful man of God. I mean, he stayed with God. He left his home for God. He dwelt on the Word of God, and his motive was the Word, his love for God. He continued to press towards the mark of the high calling. That is a true father of faith. Hebrews 6 verse 15, as I was saying earlier, says that Abraham was patient and he obtained the promise of God. This means that we need to be patient. A lot of times we Christians tend to we skip the part of the Bible that says that we need to be obedient, or we need to be patient, or we need to be diligent, and we go straight to the covenant, straight to the promise and go, yep, that's what God said about my life. I'm going to act on that. We need to look at the part where we do our part in the covenant. We need to look at, and if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God. And it's even an if. So if means that you have a choice. If means it's dependent on you to do your part, because God can always do His part. He is God, He's absolute, He's perfect. But you need to do your part, you need to face the challenge, and you need to step up and do your part of the covenant.
And last but not least, in Genesis 8 verse 22, that's the covenant God made with Noah, one of the most famous covenants, I believe. Anyway, it says, "While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." And in Genesis 9 verse 11, it says, "And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there be any more be a flood to destroy the earth." Basically, in 8 verse 22, the condition is that while the earth remains, and we know that the earth is going to remain as long as God is there. So God somewhat shows his love for Noah here, and not his appreciation, but he was the only righteous man in the world, you know. God shows that He
Cares about him.
Yes, cares about him.
Yeah.
Shows that He cares about Noah, because that covenant does not the condition is not on Noah, it's on God.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying, as long as I sustain this earth, there will always be seed time and harvest, etc. And he also promises Abraham, without any condition, he just promises him that there will not be a flood to destroy the earth.
Noah. You said Abraham.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he promises Noah that there will not be a flood to destroy the earth, and you were saying?
And the flood won't cut anyone, you know?
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
You know, this also reminds me of when, I don't remember where in the Bible, but it says in the Bible that God, it was Hebrews 6:13, yeah, that God, He swore, He found no one else to swear by. And swearing, by the way, does not mean our usual cussing and all that. Swearing means like the oath, the allegiance. He's promising. So He found no one else to promise to by, but himself. In other words, because you know God is perfect, God is absolute, God is everything. God is consistent. He is perfect. He's faithful. He couldn't swear by us human beings because we are too uncertain. And it's true. We change like weather. A lot of times we go through a lot of things and we change.
So you can't say that as long as human being X says, God, I love you every day, the earth will remain forever.
God swore by himself in Hebrews 6:13. And then Abraham was able to obtain the promise. So a lot of times God does do that because that's just to show that God
is the only reliable one.
It's true. He's the only reliable one. He's the only consistent one. He's the only
unchangeable,
perfect, absolute, faithful one.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a wrap for today's Teen Talks.
If this episode made you laugh, smile, think, or inspired you in any way, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We'll catch you next time. Until then, keep growing, keep shining,
and have a blessed day.